Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing it up for some pretty ambitious cruising someday. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Well, this week was all about preparing for winter. Well, winter in Victoria, which is mostly, as it is right now, raining ever so slightly. So I need to find a way to work on the boat without getting wet. It seems simple, right? More than a few people have pointed out that it's time to put a name on the back of the boat. And I have had a very generous offer from a gentleman who wants to do it properly for me. However, we probably should wait until the transom is fixed up a bit and there's a door in the space where the door should be. But in the meantime, I'm going to put a small name on the side of where the door is. I'll show you shortly. So I spent a little time in Photoshop and doodled something up here in simulated gold leaf. I bought 2 tiny cans of spray paint. So what I'm going to do, I've already done it, is print them out on individual sheets that can then be glued with a bit of tack adhesive to the transom of the boat, indexed properly. Then I'll use my Olfa knife to cut out the letters, starting with cutting out the outer side of the black, and then spray that as a template, and then remove all the template and print it again, put it back on, and cut the inner piece, which in this case is white, but will actually be gold, and then spray the gold through those holes. It's an idea. Let's see how it goes. So I'll begin by slightly scuffing the surface just so that the paint will have something to key to. And then once this is all done, I'll re-varnish over it. Wipe off the dust. Shoot on a quick little blast of Super 77, which is a relatively low tack spray adhesive I just happen to have around from a previous life. And apply. I just hope I didn't put too much adhesive on that. Well, before I put too many letters on, I wanted to try cutting out the G, partly to see if it was feasible and partly to see how much, if I put too much tack adhesive on, and I didn't. It's actually peeling off quite nicely, and I'll carry on with this. Now, this is not elegant cutout work. The idea being it'll look okay. There you go. To make alignment of each subsequent sheet easier, I take a straight edge and I cut off the extra piece of the left edge of each subsequent sheet. And there we go. The full template is in place. Stencil. Now, the cutting out is no fun. Well, I'd have to say this is way up on the no fun scale, but the fact is I am getting it done. I got a few letters done and it's relatively well, and I started to panic thinking that Victoria is going to be way too hard, but I did manage to cut out the A relatively well, so this might actually work. I tell you right now, it is hot, hot, hot in October. Not complaining. My hands are starting to tremble. It's actually going really well. And I have to finish because this is paper and I have to get this painted today because the dew will kill it overnight. But I'm running out of day. Okay, I just gotta get my hands to stop trembling a little bit. Well, good morning. After a couple of days hiatus on the getting the name on project, you see I have it all plasticed up because I ran out of warmth the day I was working here before, and there's no way I could have got paint to cure that evening because the dew would have come on too quickly. So we have a glorious day today. So I'm going to peel this plastic off and finish cutting out the rest of the tiny letters of the name Victoria and get this painted today. Well, there's been a slight complication, and that's that covering this up with garbage bag as plastic and sealing it in did not, in fact, keep it dry. All it did was drive the moisture out of the wood in the transom into the back of the paper, because I just cut out the O, and let me tell you, it wasn't pleasant because the paper is just pulp now. So this has turned into a little more than I had in mind. All right, we can stick through it. We can get it done. All right then, so I have this teeny tiny can of black spray paint, and ideally I'm just going to mask off around, I put a little bit of masking tape on here, but I'll just use a piece of cardboard as I spray around this, get this painted, and then quickly peel off the template. But it's not going to go that well, and I'll tell you why. Because all this paper delaminated into the top sheet, which comes off quite easily, and leaving the bottom, which you basically have to just scratch off. This turned into a nightmare. But I got to finish it today, because one more dampness cycle on this paper and it'll be pulp. And the day, well, the promising day has turned into damp, cool, and in fact it's threatening rain. Okay, first coat. And I'm going to speed up its drying with a little heat gun work. I have to apologize, I can't actually film this while I'm doing it because I really don't have any means to hold the camera out here over the water. Yeah. Okay, here goes nothing. I do not expect this to go well. Ah, yes. Delamination. Okay, well, that could have gone worse. The only way to get the paper off was with a lot of heat. And of course, a lot of heat meant that the paper dropped the adhesive onto the transom. So now I'm going to have to chase that all off with some acetone. But big picture, it's not actually that bad. Now, am I going to bother with the gold layer? Not this fall. Wait for some dry weather. There's a lot to do. Let's clean it up. Okay then, so today I start the very first actual woodworking project since I've moved downtown, and that has some logistics complexities to it, mainly because my truck is parked 15 minutes away, the lumberyard is in the other direction, I can't do the work here, so I've arranged to use a friend's outdoor shop. It's just moving everything around and getting the tools in the right place. I have to be able to park near here that I can bring tools up to. Anyway, if it all comes together, I really don't mind the extra steps. It's just the logistics planning sometimes. Anyway, let's go. There's my girl. Well, I wanted to see if I fit into a hotel parking lot that's actually significantly closer to the marina, and well, I just barely do. I've been all through the lot and everything is fine, so I may move to this lot. Okay, let's go. What a piece of Doug fir is worth today. Oh, Alright then, well, some of you who've been following along for a while may recognize this as my friend Brian's cozy little outdoor shop, which he's very kindly lent me to do this little project because, well, I need it. You may have already figured out what we're up to this week. I alluded to it in last week's episode, and that's more canopy. Well, the thing is, I built the canopy, bimini, awning, whatever you want to call it, over the bridge deck to protect mostly from sun and a little bit of rain in the summer. But over the winter, I need an equivalent cover over the cockpit to be able to do any work back there. It is also relatively imperative to have a little bit of rain cover over the cockpit over the winter, because it's just hard to come and go with tools and material and stuff like that. So, you might recognize this as one of the bows off the existing bimini cover. So I've got two pieces of a 2 by 12 by 12 foot Douglas fir, which is the same material I used to make these, and I'm going to use this as a template to make more bows, because it's going to be a very similar structure, although lower and over the cockpit. But if you think about it, there's a couple of complications. The primary complication is that if it's going to be low enough to be sort of appropriate for the cockpit, I can't get up the ladder onto the bridge deck anymore. So I could build a hatch in it or a zip opens. I've thought about all kinds of different options for that. But I think I've settled on something, and that's to have the whole canopy as a structure rotate. I know. It's only in my head, and you'll know fairly soon whether it works by the magic of video editing. Anyway, I have a plan. Let's just start cutting up some wood and see how it goes. First, the bows. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so I pretty much got this wrapped up. It actually took 2 days in here because I ran out of juice in the saw batteries, but it actually worked out okay because I have some new saw batteries which I had neglected to charge. Thank you for those who gifted it to me. Anyway, so I have created 5 new bows, and if you can see over on the other side, the structural pieces to hold that all together. It's going to be much simpler to show you how this all works in place rather than trying to explain it here. So, clean up, get all this back to the marina, and start putting it together. Okay then, all loaded up, ready to go back to the boat. To be fair, this was a tough way to do a little bit of carpentry, and although I'm very, very grateful for my friend Brian here, and we'll probably call on him again for other things, I really hope to be able to get the boat into a way that I can do carpentry of this scale in the cockpit somewhere discreet. Anyway, I'll show you the complications of getting this to the boat. All right then, so here we are back in front of the marina, arguably the most congested and busy downtown strip of Victoria. So let's get this stuff aboard. We're fortunate enough here to have a tourist parking zone. 15 minutes max, but it is kind of handy. Often these cars are parked here all day, so I won't feel bad if I go over by a minute or two. All right, I have to take advantage of this glimmer of dry weather to start to mock up how this is all going to fit up here. So the basic idea is I'm trying to create a canopy over the cockpit for a number of reasons. So this will be permanently mounted to this rail, and this will create a curve, although right now it's much too low, that this next section will sit against, which will be the actual bow, or the beam that will, here I'll put it on the outside to make it clearer, that will pivot at this back point here. Let me put some clamps on here, making this a little more secure and easier to understand. Perhaps ever bring around from this side so you're in the light, you can get the gist of what I'm talking about here. Okay, so the outer piece here is actually a structure, and it will be affixed to the old nasty stainless handrail that's up on the bridge deck, but quite secure. And then this piece on the inside will actually tip up from this fulcrum point here, this pivot here, which is going to be right there. There'll be a bolt right through this curved section. Once this structural part is set, then the rest is very straightforward. It's just the exact same bows as in the upper canopy that will cross across here. Yeah, I'm liking it. This feels good. This feels pretty good. You know what? I'm going to go to the other dock and see what it looks like from over there. Okay, at long last, I think I've settled on the perfect geometry. The curve from the other dock lines up nicely following the curve of the I know you think I'm thinking about this too much, and I know most of you despise these canopies, but I'm kind of loving it. Okay, so now all I have to do is scribe this curve onto this piece of wood. And that's basically just like... Okay, let's see what this looks like. I'd say that's a nice scribe if I do say so myself. Alright then, well, time to get some stain on all of this. It's been sitting inside with the heat on most of the day, and I'm going to try and get some stain on it on my extremely clever upside down carpet drop cloth because I can't seem to find anything else. And I just got to mop it on and get it done so tomorrow I can assemble it, because it's basically raining all the time now. Alright, it'll dry overnight and we'll put this all together tomorrow in the pouring rain. Okay then, to be fair, I can't say that the stain is completely dry, still a bit tacky, but let's get these on here quick in this lull between the showers. Now these are going to start just clamped on for now while I line everything together, but they should line up pretty well. Okay. Beauty. Okay. Okay, so these are the bows that actually tip up. Not the bows, beams actually. They sit on here and they will pivot like that to allow the front part of the canopy to lift enough to come up the companionway towards you right now. Now how do I hold it there? Okay, I had imagined I was going to install these gate latches, bolts in here on the bottom of this, and I would be able to just slide them up and into a hole on the post here in the elevated position or in an assortment of positions, or I could bolt it in at the bottom and it would be latched. Now, for starters, this one isn't long enough to do that, and I'm not sure I'm all that happy with it anyway. There are longer ones of these, and I'm going to give this a little bit of thought. In the meantime, I got a lot more screws I have to put into this and tidy it up a bit. Okay, so I am super pleased with this. As I mentioned briefly yesterday, the locking mechanism still needs to be determined, but Lady Zephyrus happened to have a couple of these little gas cylinders left over from her old sole arrangement that I might be able to arrange into something here something, at least to assist with the lift. Obviously, this is not secure enough to hold it in any wind, but it'd be nice if it could just go to glide up and hold itself there until I put the latch in. A carriage bolt. Don't use your hand for a hammer. Okay, I've opted for max lift. I'm going to put it from here to there, which will give me roughly that much lift, which is lots more than I imagined I was going to have, but I think it's cool. Now the easy way to do this is to attach the upper fitting when it's already up. There we go. I basically tied it up to the other canopy to give it enough lift that I could put these on, put the other side on and see if it works. Hey? I love it, I love it, I love it. Hello and welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week. This week's beer was a special treat. It was just brought down to me by a fine gentleman, John Lebbins. Thank you ever so much, John. Anyway, he has a monk as well, and perhaps we'll get to see it in the spring when he's back. Anyway, it's from Howe Breweries here on Saanich Peninsula, and it's their East Coast Spruce Ale. And if there's anything, if this is anything like I remember it, when I grew up in Montreal, we would have spruce ales as well. Now, where do we have it? Oh, here we go. So this could be absolutely fantastic. All right. Oh, yeah. You'll have to excuse the helicopter hovering over there. It has been doing it for half an hour, and I expect it's going to do it for half an hour into the future. It's one of the little perks of living in the Inner Harbor. Okay, then. Well, I'm loving the color of this. Let's see if we can put a little head on the end. Not too much. Howe Breweries Spruce Ale. Is that ever neat? It's not very sprucey, but just enough. I would think of it as a dark ale, more of like a nut brown sort of sense to it, but with just a little back flavor of the spruce. Really like it. Goodness. Perfect for a not really hot summery day. More of sort of a, damp day is what we have today. Okay, let's carry on with the housekeeping, shall we? Last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt is Stuart Howe. Congratulations, Stuart. Get a hold of me. We'll make sure you get your shirt. Let's just wait for this. While I'm waiting, a scampy fry or two. Go get me. And this last week, a new patron came aboard, sailing vessel Charlotte. I'm very, very grateful, especially in light of seeming to lose quite a few patrons in the last little while. So thank you ever so much. While editing this episode and recent episodes, I realized that I really have to step up my videography again. Losing the GoPro had a pretty significant impact. Perhaps not on the footage, but my feeling of how I can get the footage. So I have stepped up and managed to purchase another GoPro, which will be here shortly. So these extreme close-ups you're getting off my camera and the rather poor audio and out-of-focus shots you're getting off the other camera, hopefully will be a thing of the past and we can get back to some better footage. Cheers to that. If you haven't already figured it out, the word of the week this week will be shelter, because I am enjoying having some outdoor shelter in this drizzly weather. It's pouring rain right now. So if you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, simply use the word shelter in a comment down below, and I pick at random over the next weeks for the comments. And if I pick your comment, you'll win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. See you next week.